What's up, Throttlers? Aristotle Full Throttle here, and I'm here with my very special guest, Koricon. We just did a warm-up show for you, which you missed. It was amazing. We talked about everything, and now we're done. So welcome to the outro of our show.
Now it's live.
Now it's live. I can see us on the screen, actually. Tell us about your t-shirt that you got with...
But they usually give us one shirt a month. And what I thought was cool about it was we got two shirts this month. One for Ant-Man and one for Wasp. Here's the one for Wasp, which I think looks better. I just like the shape of that. But the thing is, these shirts make the whole Loot Crate worth it. And so, like, most of the shirts are probably you would pay like $20.
Yeah.
And the fact that I got two, that really makes it worth it, especially at my size.
It's funny. I haven't even seen Ant-Man and the Wasp yet. This is the only Marvel movie that I haven't paid to see in the movies yet. Hopefully, it'll still be in the movies when I'm motivated to actually go see it. I don't have Movie Pass, but I know that Movie Pass is it's changing their whole system. Do you have Movie Pass?
I used to have it, and then I canceled it because it's not worth it to me anymore.
Really?
Yeah, they used to have, when I signed up, you could watch any movie as many times as you want, as long as you pay the monthly fee, which I knew ahead of time that's not a business model that you can sustain. But I was like, I'm just going to ride this wave until they fail.
You know
they
what?
will eventually.
I'm going to start a business where I just print money and then give the money to people. And then that way, I don't know. That seems sustainable, right?
Well, like Disney does it for their parks. They basically print money and give it to people and they can buy it, but it's only valuable at Disney centers.
Oh, right.
But what happened was they started doing where you could only watch a movie one time, couldn't watch it multiple times. And I was like, well, that's fine. It's still worth it.
Well, I know someone saw Avengers Infinity War 100 times in a row.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit ridiculous. But
it's a little excessive, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe. A little excessive. But I mean, for $10 a month, you get to watch...
Was me, by the way.
No. I think I saw it 4 times, but Movie Pass paid for one of them.
Right.
And then, so they stopped doing the multiple movies. You could only see a movie one time. And then they made this thing where it was, you would kind of like Uber has, they'll raise the prices depending on if there's more demand.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Uber has self-driving cars that kill people, because they also have that.
Well, they have those too, but movie theaters don't.
Right.
But surge pricing.
Yeah.
So then they started doing surge pricing. So if the theater is filling up and there's not a lot of seats and the demand is high, then they'll make you have to pay some cash above that. And I was like, that's okay. I can do that too. And then they limited it to 4 movies a month. And I was like, I can still do that because it's,
once a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically one movie is worth it because a movie ticket for me is like $12.
Right.
And I'm still paying $10 a month. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then this latest one is, they raised the price to $15. You can still only watch 4 movies a month, but you can't watch new releases.
That's not...
Well,
so you have to wait like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But for you and me, we're not going to wait 2 weeks to review a movie.
Right.
Unless we have to. And
exactly.
I was like, well, the whole reason I had it was to watch new movies. So why do I have it? And so I canceled it.
Makes no sense at all, actually. And I think that the theater companies were really happy about it because movie theaters make their money off of concessions and all of that. So they were making the deal with Movie Pass, and I don't know how that works because essentially a movie theater only makes about $1 per ticket when they're selling off of just the ticket sale. But then, popcorn, that's easy to make. That's basically them printing money. It's popcorn.
Right.
But if you guys are just joining us right now on Aristotle Full Throttle, I'm talking here with Koricon, and we're just hanging out. We're doing a hangout Ask us any questions you like. Tell us what movies you've seen this summer. I'll tell you which movies I haven't seen, which is pretty much a few
More
of them.
movies than you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. How about you guys come here and you tell me about the movies, and then I'll review your review, and that'll be what we do here. Let's see. What else did you catch? Did you happen to catch the new Mission Impossible?
Yeah, actually, I intended to see it one time, and I ended up seeing it 3 times.
Okay, so it's pretty. So I gather it's good.
It is. Now the story is pretty basic for a suspense, Mission Impossible kind of suspense thriller-ish spy movie.
Right.
But the action in it is insane.
It looks pretty insane from the trailer, from what I could tell. I really liked Rogue Nation. I thought Rogue Nation was pretty incredible. I thought there was actual cinematic value in that movie, especially the opera scene, the opera house scene. It seemed like classic cinema. There's something going on stage, there's something going on above the stage, and there's something going on backstage. And I thought that was really cool. That was a really interesting parallel action and a really thought out sequence. And I liked how every major set piece moved into the next set piece so well. And I think that's why you go see those movies, really.
Well, Tom Cruise is crazy. So I love his craziness because, so for one, he's a huge movie fan. Now,
Right.
I'm not a big fan of him like in private life. I wouldn't want to know him personally because the whole
don't think anybody
Scientology
does.
thing.
I think everybody
But-
surrounding Tom Cruise is there because they have to be for some reason, or they're getting paid.
Maybe, yeah.
Right.
But his commitment to movies is like, Jackie Chan level. Like it's up
Right.
there. It's pretty
He
nuts.
broke his leg on this one.
He broke his foot.
Right.
Doing the jump from the building to the next one. It was planned that he would look like he almost missed it. So it wasn't like he accidentally missed it. But
okay.
his foot went in before his hands. And so his foot hit and then it got bent. But he still climbed
Ouchie.
up and ran past the second camera so that he could finish the shot with a broken foot. And then they told him he would be out for 6 months. And 6 weeks later, he came back and was running around. He just dealt with the pain.
That's a respectable level of commitment. I know Jackie Chan broke his foot in Rumble in the Bronx or Super Cop 6 or whatever it was called. And he actually had a cast on his foot that they painted to look like a sneaker. So
he had a rubber overlay.
Yeah. But the funny thing about Tom Cruise is he's doing all these crazy stunts where he's risking his life. And I'm like, that's cool, Tom. Nobody asked you to do that, but that's cool, I guess. I don't actually particularly go to see a movie that has Tom Cruise in it because of Tom Cruise. I go to see it because I think the movie looks cool. And he just happens to be in a lot of cool looking Oblivion was really cool. And the Mission Impossible movies are really cool. And I do like the fact that when you're watching him in a Mission Impossible movie and he's hanging on the side of a plane, you know that he's actually hanging on the side of the plane, and that's pretty rad, I guess.
Well,
Thanks, Tom.
Well, what I like about it is not just that he did it. I find that interesting.
Yeah.
But the type of camera shots that you can get when someone does it practically is awesome. You can't get those camera shots with a stuntman because it's showing their face or it's too close. And in this movie they had like 5 major stunts in it that were somewhat long. And I was talking to my brother about it. I'm like, most movies will have 1, maybe 2 of these. And he had 5. Like, he could have made a trilogy out of just those 5 action scenes and it would have been okay.
Right.
But he decided to do them all. And so the camera angles were crazy. They created these setups for helicopters that have never been done before because Tom Cruise spent 1.5 years learning how to fly a helicopter to to do a specific stunt that's actually hard to do, where it's kind of going down but it's rotating the whole time.
Wow.
And they had a camera mounted on the side, the pilot side, but pushed out a bit so that the angle looked, you could see where they were flying, but you could also see the side of Tom Cruise's face while they were doing it.
That's insane.
And then for the motorcycle stunt, they had some really awesome tracking shots where you had a camera mounted on a side of a car or a truck, and it's going the same speed he is, which is a high speed, through all of this traffic and everything. But you get this nice, tight, stable tracking shot, and when you do a tracking shot, it always looks faster than it actually is.
Right.
And then they did this cool thing where the camera would move because it's going to hit a car, and then he moves because he might hit a car. And so there's cars that are in between the camera and the motorcycle, but they add this sound effect of like, shoo, 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 shoo. And so it's, as every car goes by, and it makes it feel like it's even faster. And I was more amazed by all of the camera angles and the cinematography and the filming of those scenes, because you can't get that otherwise unless the actor actually does it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that level of commitment. I know that Keanu Reeves for the John Wick movies goes through tons and tons of gun training and fighting training to do those stunts, and actually stunt driving, because there's, in the beginning of John Wick 2, that sequence that we're in their warehouse and the door comes off of the car. I'm pretty convinced that they made sure that they actually designed that sequence with the door coming off the car so that you can actually see that Keanu Reeves is in the driver's seat doing all of those stunt moves with the car, which I thought makes those movies worth it. They're actually really designed to just showcase stunt people in Hollywood. The directors were old stunt guys, or at least stunt coordinators, and they just got their guys together and they're like, let's just make movies chock full of amazing stunts with all of our friends. And that's pretty much what the John Wick movies are, and that's what I like them for. That's why I like those movies, actually.
Well, the directors were stuntmen.
Yeah.
What I loved about that is because they were stuntmen, they knew how to properly film an action sequence.
Right.
Like I talk about, and I probably make people sick about it, but I talk on my channel about the SCQ, shaky cam, close-ups, and quick cuts. If you do one of them, at least not too much, it's okay. Like the Bourne movies, they'll have some shaky cam, but they're minimal on the close-ups, and the cuts are a little bit longer, so it's fine. But if you do two of those three, the action scene sucks. So if you got shaky cam and you're doing close-ups all the time, you're not seeing the action, you're just seeing someone's face.
Right.
And it's shaky, And then if you do shaky cam and quick cuts, you can't acclimate to the scene before it jumps to another cut. And if you do close-ups and quick cuts, it's the same thing. The camera might be stable, but all you're doing is seeing their face and then someone else's face, and they're moving around, but you don't know what they're doing. So you need to have longer cuts, pull the camera to at least a medium length so that both people are in frame, and don't move the camera. Mm-hmm. And the guys that directed John Wick knew that, because they're probably frustrated at how people filmed them when they were stuntmen.
Yeah, they're like, I could do this better.
Yeah, meanwhile, exactly. Yeah, and that's why I hated Assassin's Creed.
I haven't seen it.
You can skip it, but if you want to see it out of curiosity for film study,
right?
They not only had shaky cam and close-ups with quick cuts, so they got all three of them. They just went for all three. They added a fourth dimension of horribleness when they were jumping from the fight scene of the past and the present so they were going back and forth between him being in the machine and him in the past. So you not only had to reacclimate to the normal three, you had to reacclimate to the time shift or what location he's in.
That's goofy. That is silly.
And then when they went to the future, when he's in the machine, the person he was fighting would look kind of like a ghost.
Hmm.
So it was like you're not only acclimating to the new location, but you have to acclimate to the guy he's fighting because you're like, okay, whoa.
Right.
And then they jump back by the time you get used to it. So it felt like I was watching 30% of an action sequence. Like
Yeah.
it looked
That's
like it was
irritating.
amazing if you were there.
Right. Well, it's funny. This wouldn't be a conversation, an Aristotle full throttle conversation, if I didn't bring up Star Wars. So, I was thinking of the one of the really cool action sequences in that for me is that moment where Kylo Ren and Rey fight back to back in the throne room, because it's just one shot in slow mo, and you see that both of their choreography is it's so well done. You could tell that they practiced that, and they do it all in one shot, and they just kind of they pull back, and as they're fighting off the Praetorian Guard, it's a really well choreographed fight sequence, and I
Yeah, and
always love that.
as they separate, they cut between the two fights, but it's still pulled back. It's still either a medium or a long uh, camera length,
Yeah,
and the cuts are longer.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Reminds me of the lightsaber fights that Ewan McGregor would do
Mm-hmm.
with Darth Maul and with Anakin. They
Right.
were much longer edits because he spent a lot of time training.
He really did. I remember that too. That he just really was into learning how to light. Funny thing about him, I don't know if you told me this or where I heard this, but Ewan McGregor would make the sound of the lightsaber while he was fighting with it. So
Yeah,
they had to tell him, "Listen, we're gonna dub that in later. You don't have to make the sound of the lightsaber while you're wielding it,"
yeah. He
which is
kept
hilarious.
ruining he kept ruining takes because like he said it on Graham Norton's show. I don't know if you watched that, but
I did. Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah,
I love that show. But he said, when you hit the button, he would go, "Pshwong,"
yeah.
pew.
I mean, that makes sense.
And then when he's waving, he's going, "Wom, wom, wom, wom."
That's
uh,
that's the Star Wars fan in all of us as kids. I mean,
yeah.
it's the fact that he got to do that for real is pretty. Do you think they're gonna make an Obi-Wan movie? Do you think they're going
I
ahead with
think
that?
I think if they do another anthology movie, it is going to be Obi-Wan.
Right.
Um, I
I know
think the only
they put a hold on that.
Well, they put a hold on all anthologies. They had, I think, like 4 or 5 that they were working on, like scripts,
Right.
but they hadn't um, finalized anything. I think the one that they were working on the most was Boba Fett, because they've had a lot of writers on the Boba Fett story. I mean,
Right.
even Kevin Smith submitted a one to George Lucas back
Did he?
before it was Disney. Yeah,
I didn't
he
hear about
sub-
that. What
he
was
submitted a Boba Fett movie about 15 years ago, I think,
really?
and he submitted it to George Lucas, but it never got into fruition. But he's a huge fan. That's why he wanted to do it.
Right.
Um, it would have been a little different, though, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And they've had many writers like doing different kinds of scripts. So I'm sure they have like 10 versions of a Boba Fett script out there. The Obi-Wan film, I think they came in a bit later. Like that wasn't really something they were planning on doing until a couple of years or a year or so after Disney got it. Like I don't think they were planning that with Lucas at all. But
Hmm.
once Disney took over
Yeah.
and they announced the anthology of Rogue One, as soon as they announced anthology movies, everybody was like, Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan,
Right.
Obi-Wan. And then that's when the whole thing
They
started.
must be cautious. Yeah. That I
Well,
think that's
that and Ewan McGregor kept saying he'd go on talk shows and he would always say, "Oh, if they want to do it, I'm totally in. Like, I would
I,
love to do it."
the funny thing is the amount of goodwill that the fans have for Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan, because that is one of the things I think that is one of the redeeming factors of the prequel trilogy. Whenever it's brought up, everybody's like, "Oh, Jar Jar, Anakin sucked. The story sucked. It made no sense." And then you're like, "Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor." You're like, "No, that was good. I like that.
But
I have no problem with that."
Obi-Wan Ewan McGregor, Ray Park as Darth Maul,
Right.
and Liam Neeson. Those are the standouts. Plus, I personally love Palpatine, but that's because he's the Emperor, and
Right.
they got the same guy to come back, and so the voice is. I wasn't as mad about Hayden Christensen as a lot of other people. Now there were scenes like the scene with him and Padme. A lot of those scenes were not good, but I think part of that
It's
was
the writing.
because Lucas's didn't have any ghostwriters like he did on the original trilogy,
Yeah. He
and
didn't bring in Lawrence
I don't.
Kasdan, who probably would have saved that in the dialogue, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I mean he did Empire basically. Empire Strikes Back was Kasdan, and he didn't have directors, so he had other directors for Empire and Return of the Jedi. But he directed all three of these. I think he's a decent director, but I don't think he should be directing things that he's personally attached to because he didn't direct them well. That I don't think so.
I know. I feel that he does a bad job directing, but as a creator, George Lucas is insanely prolific and creative, and I think we all forgive him for the prequel trilogy on account of his amazing brain and amazing creativity and his the worlds that he's built. But
We just forget about metachlorians.
we all like to forget about that.
We're
I
like,
think
it
it's
didn't
amazing.
happen. It didn't happen.
I love that there's a meme, midichlorians, the answer to the question that nobody asked.
Yeah.
We
True.
got Amit is in the room. Hey guys,
Yes.
he says. Hey, what's up, Amit? If you have any questions, let us know. If you've seen any movies this summer, you got any things you want to talk about,
Anything.
we're going to talk about stuff. We're just hanging out talking about movies. Earlier we were talking about
Amit.
Mission Impossible. I still haven't seen it yet, but Tom Cruise and his stunts. Do you think he's going to do his own stunts in Top Gun 2? Is he going to learn how to fly an F-14, an F-15
No,
from the 80s?
a lot of the F-14 stuff that they do, even in Top Gun, those were military planes.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of military to help do those. And I think he's going to want to do the same thing because it always looks better for if your movie is about military, having the military do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they will have him flying a plane, but they will be doing the kind of stuff where he's in the back and they're making it look like he's in the front.
Right. But he'll still be in the plane.
Right.
While
like they did with Dunkirk. All of the flight scenes that had Tom Hardy in it, they customized the original plane because the original plane only had one seat. So they custom made by using an old German plane that had two seats, and then they just put the camera in the front seat and made it look like he was flying the plane out by himself.
Right.
So I think they might be doing something like that, but they're not going to let him fly the plane.
Yet another Tom Hardy movie where his face is covered, and you could probably just dub Bane over that.
Oh, I was wondering what would fail first, your body, your mind, or your body?
I don't remember the lines from that movie, but
Well, Christopher Nolan, someone asked him, why do you keep covering up Tom Hardy's face? And he laughed and he said, when I need an eye actor, he's the best eye actor I know.
he really is, though. He actually is.
Well, he's very expressive with his eyes. You can tell, you can pretty much figure out what he's saying if you can't understand it or what emotion he's going through by his eyes.
Yeah, he's really, really good at that.
So Ahmet said that he loved MI6. He said he thought it was good too.
That's cool. I might go see it tonight. I might go see it tomorrow morning. I'm still not sure, or probably tomorrow evening. But I always go see the Mission Impossible movies in the theater. I've seen, I think each one of them in the movies. So
I've seen them all, but I usually try to forget the second one.
The second one is just so bad. It's John Woo, but it's bad.
Well,
It's
the reason it's bad is they kicked John Woo out of the editing process,
oh,
and that's half the movie. I mean,
right.
half the movie is made in the editing bay, and they didn't let the director who edits all of his movies edit his movie.
Yeah.
And so it was back when Tom Cruise had too much of an ego, and
Right.
his ego has toned down in the past 10 years, but back then his ego was so high, and then they had the producers involved, and they all wanted something different, and so it wasn't a John Woo movie, in my
Hmm.
opinion. I think he was just, he sat in the director's chair and told them faster and louder, but that would be it.
Right. Yeah, they just wanted the name attached because he was a hot commodity during that time, actually. So they were, let's get John Woo to direct it. That's an exciting, almost stunt casting of a director for that. And but that movie, I just remembered my opinion of that movie when I saw it was this movie just looks like it was built around a motorcycle sequence and a helicopter sequence and this, and there was nothing in between connecting it all. And then I remember telling my friend about that, and I was walking, and then we met up with my other friend who had seen it, who had the absolute opposite opinion of the movie, where he said to me, I heard that movie was built around a motorcycle chase and a helicopter sequence, and that's amazing. To them, the very things that I thought made it dumb was amazing. So I guess you got to know your audience or whatever. But I
Well,
want there to be connecting fiber between those things. I want there to be something that we can follow along through those sequences and have those sequences be motivated naturally.
well, one of the good things about Tom Cruise is he does learn from his past movies.
Right.
Every movie he tries to find something he didn't like, or he can make better from a
Yeah.
past movie and fix it in the next movie. So in Mission Impossible 2, he they did some of the wire work fight scenes, like the final fight scene between the two guys. They had a lot of wire work, but after that he stopped doing wire work.
Oh,
you know
okay.
so you see a lot of the fight scenes are very practical. They just train for them.
Right.
In MI6, the fight scene they have in the bathroom, they spent a month doing that scene.
That looks brutal. From the trailer, it just looks brutal, but good
But they
brutal.
they kept doing take after take after take until they got it right. And
Right.
so they were planned to do 1 week,
Hmm.
but the director works a lot with Tom Cruise because they have similar personalities and work ethic. Where if it
Mhm.
doesn't look quite right, we're going to do it until it's right. And so even though they planned 1 week, they ended up filming for a month just to get that bathroom scene right. And
Wow.
it looks great. I think it's a little short,
Yeah.
but knowing how long it took just to get that, I'm like, all right, you're good.
Yeah. That's cool. Speaking of bathroom fight scenes, we seem to be segueing pretty well with this. I mean, the fight scene in Casino Royale, that bathroom fight scene was pretty good, and also the fight scene in Eastern Promises in the bathroom is an insane sequence with Viggo Mortensen being naked for a week in a bathroom, fighting someone in which is a bringing back David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors. I did a video earlier this week on that. If you guys want to watch that, go on the channel, check it out. But David Cronenberg directed Eastern Promises, and something about a bathroom fight scene bathroom, I guess, is a vulnerable place. The shower is a vulnerable place. You've got Viggo Mortensen completely without anything to protect him, and a guy with a knife coming at him.
Yeah.
So that's insane. And he still manages to best the other guy. Spoiler
Now,
alert. But
Amit is asking about Venom. But
Venom, yeah.
real quick before we move to that, with Eastern Promises, one of the things I loved was they actually researched the Russian mob. They researched the tattoos. You watch a lot of movies and they have, because tattoos for a Russian mobster is like very specific.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like the military tattoos you would get in the First and Second World War,
Right.
where it depended on where you've been, you know, what you've done, what level you are in the organization. And so, but a lot of movies, when they have a Russian mobster, they just throw tattoos on them to look like there's tattoos.
Right.
But in Eastern Promises, they studied them, and they actually did interviews with, you know, real Russian mobsters to try and find out what each tattoo means. And so
That's
they would
amazing.
give it, all of the tattoos that he had were real, and they put him in a higher echelon of the organization. So
Wow.
he got a lot of respect from the Russian mob for how detailed they were on the tattoos
Huh.
and his accent.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Viggo Mortensen's accent in that. Those were two really good Viggo Mortensen movies and two really good Cronenberg movies, A History of Violence and Eastern Promises being consecutive for both of them, I think. And yeah, those are that's a pretty good duo that I'd like to see come back again because they seem to really work together well, like Tom Cruise and the director of the last two Mission Impossible movies you were mentioning. But so Amit wants to know, yeah, what do you think about Venom so far?
So I have mixed feelings. Um, for one, I hated Spider-Man 3 so much because of what they did to Venom.
Right.
Uh, Venom was one of my favorite comic book characters growing up. I had all of the crossover series for Maximum Carnage because I love Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I think the first three of the major graphic novels that were just about Venom. I still have them actually. But so I loved Venom. And then what they did with him in Spider-Man 3 was so bad. You know, he didn't look like Venom. He didn't act like Venom. The only thing they got right was the fact that Eddie Brock was a rival reporter, photographer, but that was it. Topher Grace's performance was bad. And then they killed him off.
Yeah,
And
right away.
I'm like, well, we can't get Carnage now. Like, that's half the reason I want a Venom movie is so that I can get Carnage at some point
Yeah,
because he's so awesome.
and I know that Sam Raimi was wrestling with the studio because I don't think he wanted to put Venom in the movie, and they had to work it in right before production. They had to rewrite and figure out because obviously after Spider-Man 2 being such a success, they just rolled right into Spider-Man 3, and as they were approaching, the studio was, hey, is there any way you could put Venom in there? And he had to crowbar him in there and figure it out, even
Well,
though
it
he had
was
that really... I mean, I thought the story with Sandman was actually
I
heartfelt.
liked Sandman.
Yeah, I
So,
enjoyed
but
that.
he was in a bad movie. Well,
Yeah,
the problem, like a lot of people said, oh, Sam Raimi just doesn't like Venom, and that's why he did it. And it's not. It was he had told the studio he wanted to do a trilogy. He was ending it on the third movie, and so he wanted a complete storyline. When they forced him to put Venom in the movie, he had to kill him off, otherwise he would have to do sequels. So he didn't want Venom in the movie because he knew he was ending his series.
right.
Um, and then it just turned out bad. It was just bad all around. So
It was.
with
It was
this
kind
new,
of. It's tedious, for sure.
yeah. So I don't totally blame Raimi. I
You
blame
blame Bane.
Sony. I blame Sony.
Sony is
Now,
it, they don't know how to treat those properties. That's why they admitted it. They just said, "Hey MCU, hey Marvel, hey Kevin Feige, we don't know how to do this. We own it, but we don't know how to do it. Can you please just do it and we'll split the cash on this?" And that seems to be a smart deal, actually.
well, I think
But
a lot of that came because of Fan Four Stick.
yeah,
You know,
Van Fort's
they were
stick was terrible.
it was like we had four chances to do a movie, even though the first one never got released because it was just to retain the rights.
Yeah.
But we had four chances and we failed on all of them, which is crazy to say. Like failing once and learning from it, sure, no
Yeah.
problem. but failing 4 times. I mean, come on. Like, you're not learning anything.
It's just stubborn. They're just being stubborn. They just want to keep trying to make a little bit of cash on it, but they realize that the audience now is not going to forgive. I hope they realize. I hope 20th Century Fox realizes that, hey, we want to see a good Fantastic Four movie, and every time you do it, you keep failing us. Don't you guys want to make $1 billion off of this, or do you want to keep losing money on it?
Well, the problem,
they keep breaking even-ish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, DVD sales of just about anything will get you to break even most of the time.
Right.
And with a comic book property, you make your money back in merchandising. So even if a movie fails, it's going to make somewhat of a profit. It's just not going to be the double or triple profit that they're hoping for.
Right.
The problem with Sony, because Sony actually owns the rights. I think 20th Century Fox is just the distributor, but they don't really have a say in the production. But anyway, whoever is running the production is messing up these movies because I think they're trying to get too much control. And you have people that have no idea what pop culture is. They don't know anything about what's going on. And so they are telling them to throw in stuff that they think might be cool, but they don't know how to do. And, just like Kevin Smith, when he was talking about the producer of Wild Wild West, I can't remember his name, but
John Peters.
So I can't remember. I don't think it's John Peters, but anyway, the guy was obsessed with spiders, and he was doing a movie with Kevin Smith. Oh no, it was Kevin Smith was writing the Superman script.
Yes, it is John Peters actually. Yeah, John Peters.
That's just John Peters, and then John Peters was telling Kevin, okay, I don't want him to fly. I don't want him to have the suit. And we need a big spider that he fights. And Kevin Smith was
Superman.
Right. And Kevin Smith was like, no. And so he wrote a script for Superman that he submitted. And they said no, but he ignored all of that. He's like, if you have Superman, he's got to be in the suit. He's got to fly. And I'm not putting a big spider in my movie.
It's so silly.
And so, but his next movie that he worked on was Wild Wild West. And what do you know? There was a big metal spider.
Huge mechanical spider. I love that story. It's about 20 minutes, but it's Kevin Smith and I guess around 2000, 2002 or something, giving a talk he just went around giving talks because he can talk and talk and talk. But that was a really funny story about that.
Yeah, I saw him and Jay live here in Colorado a few years back, and that was awesome.
They do the Fat Man on Batman right up the street from here, actually, at the Cantina, and I want to see that one of these days. A friend of mine, Ryan, he plays in a band called Braves. He's gonna actually be on a podcast I've been working on called Fat Story, and he and I are gonna go check that out one of these days. Which right up the street, I actually went to that Cantina bar too. It's really super fun and super nerdy. And Kevin Smith, I mean, thank God that guy's still around. But sadly, we did lose. I mean, I'm sure you're a fan of his as well. But John Schnepp a couple weeks ago passed.
Yeah, that was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was in the hospital, and I follow him on social media, and he was posting pictures from in the hospital, taking selfies with people that came to visit. And then I wake up the next day and he died. And I'm like, what? Like, what happened? It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's really horrible. It's really, really, it just shows you how quick things can all go away. So you got to appreciate the things while you got them. And he was definitely one of the heroes of superhero talk. And I always listen to the Hero Show on Colliders, and he was always so excited about these kinds of things. And
he was a sweaty.
He was definitely the king of sweaties, that guy.
And
And
all of us sweaties sweat from our eyes that day.
we did. And so this one, yeah, just a nice little dedication shout out to John Schnepp for being an enthusiastic fan of the things that we love here too. So if you guys are just joining us, I'm here with Koricon. We're talking about movies. We're talking about superhero movies right now. Venom. Amit wants to know what we think about if Venom's going to be good. And I don't know, my faith is kind of tested with Sony and the Spider-Man properties. So I don't think it's going to be that great. I think it's going to be as good as the trailer feels, and the trailer feels okay. It doesn't feel great to me.
So I have a couple of things that are positive. For one, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
When I heard he was attached, I got interested. Before that, I was not interested.
Right.
But then I heard Tom Hardy, and I was like, like he's selective with his scripts. I like his acting. He can do intense pretty, well, which he'll need. So that got me interested. When I saw Venom in the trailer, I was like, okay. I mean, it's a lot better than what they did in Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Tom Hardy isn't like the tallest person alive,
Right.
when he's in the suit, they made him look 8 feet tall.
Right.
Which is what he was in the comic books. He has the muscle. He has the large build. If you look at his face from the side on that one part in the trailer when he's holding the guy in front of him, the profile, the face looks right because it's a little longer. But the straight on, when you look at Venom, it looks a little weird. And I'm not sure. I think it might be the top half of the head is maybe too large or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be brought in a little more gaunt. But I can't really put my finger on it. It just looks odd. So I hope there's a lot of profiles.
Well, you know what looks really odd is when people were putting the eyeballs into Venom. I don't know if you saw that meme, but
I did. Oh, man.
Venom with eyes
creepy.
is really creepy. It's goofy. It's hard to take
Now
him seriously.
They took the white spider off of his chest, but they had to do that because he doesn't get the suit from Spider-Man, which is okay because there are comic books out there where the symbiote didn't come through Spider-Man.
Right. But that's the one thing that takes me out of the movie. I like, what is that actor? Reza
Ahmed.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I like what he did in Rogue One. I like what he does. He seems to really get into a thing when he's doing his acting. And I like that. He's an interesting guy to watch on screen, just like Tom Hardy is. And
he looks like he's doing a good job as the scientist guy.
Yeah. And I think the science, though, the sciencey part, is a little too dumbed down in the trailer, at least. I don't know if they're going to keep that in the movie, but because they take a lot of things out that are in the trailer that end up in the movie, but it seems really dumbed down. They have the things, the two symbiote things in containers, and they just go, we call them symbiotes. I'm like, do you though? Do you even know what they are?
Yeah.
just
the one thing I'm really concerned about is the last trailer, showed Venom fighting another symbiote guy, and he rips his face off. The other guy rips off Venom's face, which I thought was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. However, when they're coming in together, the other person is Reza Ahmed, which means he gets one of the symbiotes and makes himself powerful, which in a way makes sense. It's kind of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. I'm injecting myself. As the test subject or whatever. But the problem is that story has been played to death. The first, the Hulk movie that Ang Lee did had that with his father. Iron Man, the first Iron Man had that. It's like a standard trope of the villain. The villain becomes the major villain. Like
Yeah.
Even in Amazing Spider-Man, it's the same thing with um, was it Crocodile? I
Oh,
think
the lizard.
Lizard. Thank you. Uh, he he did a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He injected himself and he became that.
Right.
So that story has been done to death, and I'm afraid that it's going to make the storyline part boring.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Doctor Octopus too.
Yeah, but at least
Yeah.
with Dr. Octopus, the actor made it worth it.
Yeah. You know,
Like
here's a really funny.
Malena did an amazing job as Doc Ock.
He's amazing. I love Alfred Molina. I was actually at the farmers market down in Hollywood last year, and I ran into, of all people, I saw Alfred Molina. I was like, "That's Alfred Molina standing right there." He's my height. He's a really really tall guy. I'm 6'3". And then right after that, I saw Joel McHale, and I wanted to say to both of them, "I loved y'all in Spider-Man 2," which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
And,
you should say I loved you in Indiana Jones.
yes, that's
Because
the
he's
classic one.
because
Yep,
he's
throw me the
only
apple and
in
I'll
it
throw you
for
the whip.
5. Yeah, he's only in it for 5 minutes.
Yes. I do, however, really love Alfred Molina in Boogie Nights. That's an incredible sequence where he's just in
Yeah.
his underwear and a bathrobe singing Sister Christian. It's just such a classic scene. And there's a dude in the background throwing fireworks indoors.
Right.
Makes no sense. It's very Paul Thomas Anderson. But
But
Venom,
if
don't
if
know.
if Venom is good, I think the things that would make it good is Tom Hardy's storyline, his integration to Venom, having Venom actually be true to the character, which I think they're doing because Venom is actually really violent. However, the problem is in the comic books, Venom really only wants to be violent against Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants to kill Peter Parker,
Right.
but he doesn't really want to kill anybody else.
Yeah.
That's why he teamed up with Spider-Man to take out Carnage, is because Carnage was just blatantly killing people, and Venom was against that.
Interesting. Yeah.
But in this movie, he's threatening regular people. However, I think the people he's threatening are criminals. Like the guy in the general store. I think he was trying to rob the store, and that's why he's threatening him.
Yeah.
So I guess that point would be okay. I just don't want him to be a danger to the average Joe Blow that's walking down the street, because then that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, that's it's going to be like kind of an anti-hero type of story, I think, for sure. I think, and Tom Hardy looks like he's doing some interesting Tom Hardy-isms in the trailer, at least, where the guys are attacking him. He's like, but I don't
know what's going on. Yeah.
That seemed very genuine.
I think acting-wise, he'll do great.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm concerned about is action sequences, because that would kill the movie. Just like Assassin's Creed, the stuff in the 1500s, the production value of that looked good, but the filming of it was horrible.
Yeah.
And so with Venom, it would be the same kind of thing. If your action sequences are not filmed right, then the movie's going to fall apart, because we already know, the fact that they showed the third act fight scene in the trailer gives away the entire movie. I know what's going to happen in the movie now. Yeah. Like, I know what the storyline is. I know what happens in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. I know how the movie's going to end. And so you have to give me something else. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, that's the really frustrating thing about trailers in general. But I think they're kind of pulling back on that and switching it around, especially Marvel. I think they're doing that right with the trailers dating back to Age of Ultron being misleading deliberately and for good reason, because they want you to think certain things are going to happen so that you're just mentally going into it, or they want you to not know what ends up happening. So I don't know if you remember, but that 360 shot of all of the Avengers, the obligatory 360 shot of all the Avengers assembling in each movie, they included the speedster guy. What's his name?
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. They included him in that shot, and I think at that point in the movie he had been killed off. So they didn't want you to let on that he wouldn't be in that final showdown. Which
well, money back. It's misleading in that we have a twist and we don't want to give it away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
What I hate is when you make a trailer look really good, and then you get to the movie and you're like, "You lied to me."
Yeah, and it's just
you
terrible.
made this look like a good movie, and it's crap.
Yeah. I mean, trailer cutting is an art in and of itself. A long time ago, I met a guy who, for a living, cuts trailers. That's his specific job. He doesn't edit movies, he edits trailers. And he was telling me, yeah, the studios and audiences, they want to see a beginning, a middle, and an end in the trailer. They want to know that it's a happy ending. He specifically said that. So when he's cutting these 2.5 minute things, he is trying to lead the people along through the entire movie. They have to see a little snapshot of it, the entire thing, before they pay their money. And he's just like, that's just the way that they do it. And I don't believe that that's the only way to do it.
Well, and they don't always do that. So your teasers obviously don't do that. Teasers are more of like, I get to see production value, the actors, how they look, what the cinematography will be. Like I get the taste, so I like teasers. The first trailer usually doesn't involve the third act at all. It just talks about the first act and maybe a little bit in the second act, but it's more of your characterization. It's the second trailer, TV spots, and if they do a third trailer, the third trailer where they give away the endings.
Yeah.
So I might watch a second trailer, maybe,
right.
if it's under 2 minutes, but I will not watch anything after that. Like when Star Wars came out, I avoided the second trailer, and after I avoided all the TV spots.
Me too.
I avoided social media when they started doing when they had the early showing for critics.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, I got off all social media because I didn't want to hear anybody's review. Like even when I review movies, I won't read or watch other people's reviews until after I'm done with mine, because I don't want to be influenced by them. Like if someone says the movie sucks, and then I go in and watch it, I now have a mindset of, oh man, this movie's gonna suck.
Right. That same thing here. I don't watch. I just write down all the ideas when I do a movie review, and then record my movie review and then post it, and then I find out, and then I go look around and see what people are saying, because I want to see if it compares. Jenny Nicholson actually ran into that when she reviewed The Last Jedi. She saw it the Saturday before the Thursday night premiere, and she had this glowing review, and she loved it, and she was going on and on about how great it was, and in her opinion. And then a week later, everybody's just telling her how much it sucked. And then she's just like, oh my God, what is going on? And she's got a great follow-up to her original review, which is about 24 minutes long. But it's I think it expresses everything that I feel about the backlash about the movie and everything. My opinion is in line with hers as far as that, but I didn't watch her review until a week later after I saw the movie, and I didn't watch her follow-up review until I was dealing with, that's a 50-50 split. It feels like there's just people on both sides. And as far as The Last Jedi, seeing the trailers, I didn't watch any trailers after I saw the teaser. I just saw the teaser, and then 6 months later, I think, avoided all the TV spots, watched the movie, did the live stream about my opinion on it and everything. And then, not until about January or February, so a month or two after the movie already came out, then I watched the trailers for The Last Jedi. And boy, did they feel like a different movie that what I saw. Did you end up ever watching those trailers?
Uh, I I think I reacted to all the trailers. Maybe.
The full trailer right before the movie, the final
Yeah, but
trailer.
none of the TV spots.
Okay,
But I think
I avoided the final trailer. I only watched the teaser, and then I avoided all the TV spots and the final trailer. But when I saw the final trailer after seeing the movie 6 times, just a totally different vibe than what I saw. So that could have been a lot of the backlash too, I think. I think there was they were selling a movie, and for better or for worse, that was not the actual feeling of the movie, which is weird.
You know, whenever I see a movie that had a great trailer, but the movie sucked, my immediate thought is, why didn't they hire the guy that edited the trailer to edit the movie? Because he obviously knows how to do a good job, because he made your crap movie look good.
Right.
If you gave him the whole thing, I think the movie might have actually turned out okay.
Well, they did that with Suicide Squad. They actually did that. They took the editors, the editing company, for the trailer editing company, is a specific production company that just will edit trailers. And then they took that crew and they said, the trailer's doing so good, the one that you did, can you make the movie look more like that? And they retroactively, before, like a month or two before the movie came out, just kept doing some re-edits with the trailer cutters, which is insane. That's kind of insane. It's like telling...
Well, I'm kind of curious to see what the movie was before that, because that means, from what I'm thinking, is the original cut of the movie is even like way worse.
Yeah, that movie,
Like,
I could tell was I was sitting in the movie for Suicide Squad for half that movie going, this is a terrible movie. But then for some reason, Will Smith won me over, and I was just, Will Smith's in it.
well,
I guess I was looking for something
the
good.
same thing with the prequel Star Wars. You know, Ewan McGregor made it worth it.
Yeah.
In Suicide Squad, you know, Will Smith, I love his Deadshot.
Yeah.
Will Smith and Margot Robbie made it worth it for me. I really liked her. I liked her in the movie. Now, Jared Leto, I think he could do a really good Joker. He just was kind of edited out of the movie.
Yeah.
And
he didn't, if you edited him entirely out of the movie, it would make no difference, which is sad. It's almost as if all of the parts that he's in were put there just out of obligation. In my opinion, I watched that movie and I go, the Joker is a completely useless character. There's no
well, the
reason
thing
for the
is,
Joker to
if
be.
you're going to have Harley Quinn's backstory, you need Joker. Because he created Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn.
I suppose, but that almost felt like we didn't have the backstory of anyone else, Killer Croc or whoever. Like, and if we didn't have her backstory, I would just go, oh, she's another one of these ragtag groups, and then we would just have maybe Will Smith's backstory. And I was actually personally moved by what's Pyro? What's the fire guy's name?
Yeah, I liked his backstory.
I thought that was the emotional center for the movie for me. I was like, this guy, that I felt something for that guy. And
you mean it wasn't Slipknot?
The short-lived Slipknot. Amazing. Yeah. I went to the movie just for Slipknot. No, he's gone.
He was so awesome in the trailer. No, but I think because Jared Leto is going to be doing a Joker movie.
I heard.
I think the problem with Suicide Squad was Joker wasn't the villain.
Right.
You know, I can't remember her name, but the sorceress, she was the villain. She wasn't a good villain. Her motivations didn't really make much sense. They used the light in the sky kind of thing. Her brother had no characterization. He just kind of showed up out of nowhere, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, sure, why not? He was basically just a big villain to give Pyro's character something to fight.
yeah,
And that was it. And so if Joker was the main villain, I think the movie would have been redeemable.
yeah. And I really do respect. I mean, I don't know if respect's the word, but Jared Leto goes for the extra, and he adds extra to whatever he's doing, and it's helped him in the past. He won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. He was really good in that, and he's usually really extra. And
Well, I respected the fact that he didn't try to do an imitation of Heath Ledger. That was
yes,
my main concern for the next Joker, was that somebody would just try to redo Heath Ledger's performance, and
right,
that would have been a slap in the face of Heath Ledger. So I like the fact that he went different with it.
yeah,
And
and
I would
that's the
like
cool thing
to
about
see
the Joker.
more. Yeah, I would like to see more of him. Yeah, but I think he could have been written better, and he needs to be the main villain. So a Joker-centric movie, I'm not quite sure how they'll do that unless it's just from a villain's point of view, which I would be fine with. But they're also doing the second Joker movie that takes place in the 80s, directed by Martin Scorsese with Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. They're producing both of them at the same time. And so
Really,
it's like, yeah,
I
it's
didn't.
like,
That's news to me. Martin Scorsese is directing a Joker movie. Is this what
yeah,
I just heard?
yeah, he came to so the thing is, DC didn't seek him out.
Right.
Apparently he had an idea for a Joker script, and it took place in the 80s, and he went to DC and said, I got this great idea, I want to do this. And basically DC was like, Martin Scorsese wants to do it. Yeah, go for it, man. Like, you don't say no to Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
The problem is now they have two Joker movies taking place in alternate universes. But which universe is taking place during the DC universe that they already have going on? Because I have heard that Suicide Squad, because it didn't do very well, that DC is saying, "Oh no, that doesn't take place in the main canon universe. That's a different." And DC has the multiverse, so they could say that.
Right. They do.
But
They have two different Flashes and two
they
different
they kind
Supermans.
yeah, they kind of have. Well, there's a lot of Earths. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the as far as between TV and movies,
yeah.
they're doubling up.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Flash TV show, I mean, they've got. I think they talk about 30 or plus Earths that they deal with. But like, you need to explain that in the films. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just retroactively say Suicide Squad's in a multiverse, because there's nothing in the movie to say that.
Right.
And so the average viewer that doesn't look at news is not going to know that it's a multiverse. They'd have to mention it somewhere.
Yeah.
So
And they do
is the
mention Superman's death and Batman is in it, so it really it's sort of that in between movie between.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you could say it's on Earth too. Why? Sure, that's fine. But is the Martin Scorsese film also going to be in an alternate Earth, or is
Hmm.
that going to be a part of the main canon? And if so, is the Joker movie that DC is doing with Jared Leto, is that taking place in the multiverse of Suicide Squad?
Right.
Or is that a part of them? Like, they can easily get super confusing, and the average viewer is not going to know what's going on. Like, they're going to think there's two Jokers in this universe, one that lived in the 80s and one that lives now,
Right.
which I guess you could do. I mean, you could make Jared Leto's Joker not be the actual Joker, make him like the son of Joker or a clone of Joker,
Or the
you know,
Robin story,
or the Robin story. You could
the
do
Red
what they
Hood.
did in
Yeah.
Return of the Joker, where he was his DNA was in Jason Todd. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, why not?
I mean,
But
I kind
they,
of like that vagueness that they have right now in the DCEU movies, where Batman looks over at Robin's suit. Is Robin dead, or is Robin betrayed him and become the Joker? So I like that. I kind of like that idea. But then again, that's wanting to see that happen, and then if something else happens, I might get, the audiences might get disappointed. And then if that happens, how is that surprising? Which brings us back to the whole Last Jedi, I think, controversy, is that people are excited about something that they want, and then if they don't get that, they're mad. And I don't know how J.J. Abrams is going to handle that in Episode 9.
Well, so your main extreme Star Wars nerd, like I'm talking extreme, not like normal ones like you and me. We love Star Wars. We talk about it a lot, but we're not that crazy.
Yeah.
the extreme Star Wars fan, they like to predict things.
Yes.
But they have this ego of, I'm obviously right because I know everything about Star Wars. And then they watch the movie and it's not what they predicted, so they automatically hate it. Yeah. It doesn't matter if the movie was good or bad. If their predictions didn't come true, then the movie is horrible and I should have written the script.
And that's always very frustrating to me.
Especially since you have a bunch of those nerds and all of them have different predictions. It's like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to try and fit 20 of the extreme Star Wars nerds' predictions into one movie? It would be a total mess. Like, it wouldn't make any sense.
And because of that, I think that's what Rian Johnson intended to do, was to just subvert every expectation, which that is why I go to see a Star Wars movie to be surprised. I don't go to a Star Wars movie to go, that's what I thought was going to happen, and that's what I thought was going to happen, and they did that, great. It's everything I thought was going to happen. Thank you. I want to see, I want to be surprised. I want there to be a twist of something I did not see coming, and that is what the joy I get out of Star Wars. That's why I don't watch the trailers for months and months and months, because I don't even want to be led on to the big... And Star Wars, in a way, did that to themselves because of Empire Strikes Back, flipping the script, quite literally just turning everything on its head. Cinematically, it is one of the biggest reveals, if not the biggest reveal in movie history, I think. In mainstream Hollywood movie history, I don't know if audiences were as shocked at any other sequel reveal.
I wouldn't say sequel reveal, but in normal movie reveal, I would put Psycho up there.
Psycho is definitely up there for sure.
Because your main actress, who was very popular at the time, Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
And The Sixth Sense is also honorable mention.
The Sixth Sense too, but I still wouldn't put that as high as I Am Your Father. But in Psycho, your main actress dies in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the story is not about her anymore. Mm-hmm. And then to have the twist that mom is dead and it's all his psychosis of multiple personalities, that was mind-blowing at the time.
Definitely.
And if you had never seen Psycho and you watched it now and didn't know any of that, it would still blow your mind.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Hitchcock was definitely one of the best at, definitely the best at generating suspense in his movies. And the fact that he did such a script flipper, I mean, to credit Hitchcock even further, with such a reveal like that in Psycho, where you did not expect this guy having multiple personalities, one of them being his dead mother. Spoiler alert. On that same token, he does The Birds. And The Birds is just, suddenly birds are attacking people. And then, suddenly they stop. And for no reason whatsoever. Which...
I personally hated The Birds.
I didn't hate The Birds.
I hate it. Now, a lot of people like it. They love the idea, and I like the idea.
Yeah.
But for me, it's on par with uh, M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening.
Happening. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I was just gonna
like
bring up.
you could have the birds
No. What?
and yeah, exactly.
No.
Just put Mark Hamill in or Mark Wahlberg in there, and it would fit perfectly.
Yeah.
The one scene that lost me in The Birds was they're in this house. The birds are attacking. Now the setup for the birds, like them coming down and flying onto the jungle gym, this lady is watching them do that, and she hears a noise upstairs. So she goes upstairs to investigate what the what is that noise? Now they're boarding up the frickin' windows because the birds are flying into the glass. And there's a door to a room, and she hears the rustling going on. What does she do? She opens the door and then gets surprised by all these birds. And I'm like, that's one of those characters you're like, please kill her off.
Kill
Like,
them
she
immediately.
deserves to die. If this was real life, I would shoot her just to keep the rest of us safe.
Right.
Like, I hate those characters, but I love watching them die on screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she didn't die, and so I was pissed off.
I might be a little bit biased because I took this Alfred Hitchcock course in college, and we watched it and we analyzed it, and then Tippi Hedren came and spoke, and then I met Tippi Hedren, and she signed my Alfred Hitchcock book about the birds, and but I haven't seen it in a long time. Though I do remember.
If I was in that class, I would have said, I love you as an actress. You are a great actress. You were just in a really bad movie.
Yeah. Well, hey, she was also in Roar. Let's not forget Roar.
Well, I didn't say the only bad movie. Just that one was a bad movie.
Well, that's why The Happening, though. I think because M. Night Shyamalan is such a student of Hitchcock, he said, I'm going to make my version of the birds, but I'm going to call it the trees.
Well, he chose a villain you can't see. You can only see the effects of.
Right.
In birds, you can have a silent, suspenseful scene of the birds creepily increasing in number.
Yeah.
But with wind,
you just see.
You just see tree. Yeah, there's no threat really.
Yeah, I did like the disturbing factor, if we're gonna look at good things in The Happening, of people just suddenly wanting to murder themselves, just like out of nowhere.
Well, and that was the thing in the trailer that made the movie look good. Is you're like, whoa, what is going on? But then in the movie, you're like, oh, well, I don't really care.
Yeah. I still haven't watched the trailer for Glass yet. Do you think I should watch that? I should watch that right now.
Yeah, I would.
How much time do you have?
Oh, I'm here all day. I'm off today. I don't work today.
Okay, I probably I can go probably another 15-20 minutes. Let's see.
I was gonna say,
I haven't seen the trailer.
I got another 8 hours in me. I'm good.
No, I'm good. I just have an appointment across town. I got to drive across town and go see
the trailer. The trailer for Glass is more of a character piece. Like, they're reintroducing the characters and showing where they are now, but they don't touch on anything after the first act.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I really do like James McAvoy in Split. I thought his performance was that movie to me is just a showcase of good acting and showing how he could layer his characters in the fact that he could be one personality pretending to be another personality. That was pretty cool when he did that.
There's only a handful of actors that I think can do the multiple personality character. Now, some people can pull it off if they film it where they only show one character at a time. And I think some actors can pull that off. But when you have a character switch in frame, there's not very many actors that can do that because they have no preparation for the next character.
William Dafoe.
William Dafoe in Spider-Man, incredible.
So good.
But
And the way they shot
other,
that too, just the way that he started out just changing his face and then looking in the mirror and then just cutting between the characters.
yeah.
That was so brilliantly done.
The other actors I thought did a very good job with it was John Lithgow in Raising Cain. He had an interview scene with the psychiatrist, and he would basically just kind of drop his head and come back, and he was a 6-year-old kid. And then just kind of drop and come back, and now he's a woman. But his posture and everything changed, and you knew what character it was without him even talking.
Yeah.
So he was brilliant in Raising Cain. And then this is going to sound like a weird one, but Brent Spiner in Star Trek The Next Generation as Data, one episode, he got
Christmas
he
Carol?
got it. No, I don't know, but he got downloaded an entire society into his brain because
Yeah.
they had put, because everybody was going to die, they put them all on this network. And when they got a hold of data, they knew that they could escape the servers, and so they downloaded themselves into him. But he now had like 1,200 personalities in his head, and he
Yeah.
couldn't control it. And so he was popping from one personality to another, and he did them in frame.
It's amazing.
And I
I
was
haven't seen
blown
that
away.
episode. I'm going to
You
watch
should.
that episode.
You
I
should.
mean, I'm a big fan of The Next Generation, and there are, 7, 8 seasons of it, so that's one that got past me, actually.
Well, and it wasn't that he just switched characters. He even had a scene, I think he had a scene where Data was struggling against a personality. So you would see him as one personality and then switch to Data trying to push that personality out, but then that personality not wanting to give up control. And he did a great job with it. And so I
He's
was
great.
like, how can Brent Spiner in a TV show do better than most actors that you see on film with multiple personalities? So I gained a lot of respect for him after that.
He's awesome. I think Brent Spiner in particular, and Jean-Luc Picard, and why can't I remember Captain Jean-Luc Picard's name? I don't know
Patrick
why.
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Geez, Sir Patrick Stewart. He does such a great job, and I think the writers for Star Trek: The Next Generation recognized the talent that they had, so they would write episodes around their abilities, which was cool. So holodeck sequences where they just keep playing different characters or indulge, and I think that was really to show that Brent Spiner, he's playing Data. Not easy to play that role. Very stoic, literally has no emotions, and is trying to understand the world without having emotions. And it's so amazing because they were like, we need to show how good this guy really is. So let's give him roles where he can stretch in other directions other than difficultly playing a stoic character. People don't realize that playing that type of character like Leonard Nimoy, having no human emotions, and Data having no human emotions, it's not as easy as one thinks. And I think
That's why they gave him the other characters. Like he also played his father, the scientist, and he also played his evil twin brother, and he also played before.
The
And then
childlike version.
and then in First Contact, he got the emotion chip.
Yeah.
And so he was like switching between extremes on emotion, and he did great with that too, I thought.
Yeah. I don't like Generations as much as I like First Contact but I do like how they they address the fact that he was a little bit over the top in Generations, which was funny and fun and playful because he's just got his emotions. Now he's going to try them out. But when when the Borg, and they're investigating the Borg, and they're walking through the hallway, and Data's, I'm feeling a great deal of fear right now. He's like, switch your emotion chip off. He's like, okay, I'm better now. And
it's like Patrick Stewart is like, sometimes I'm jealous of you, or whatever he says.
Yeah, that was a great little movie. So Amit wants to know, what movie are we looking forward to watch this year the most?
So I'm going to probably get a lot of crap for this, but Halloween.
Halloween. Which
And
which number is this now that we're up to?
well, the reason I'm excited about it is John Carpenter came back to produce it. He's doing the music, which he adjusted for more present day. He's involved with the movie, he's involved with the script, but he's not the sole writer.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie takes place, I think, 20 or 30 years, yeah, it takes place 30 years after the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the other movies didn't happen.
Interesting.
In this movie, Michael Myers was in the maximum security psych ward that whole time. So he never got out. He never got out except for that first movie. After
that's cool.
So after that first movie, they caught him again and then used extra security to make sure he couldn't get out. But
Amazing.
then after 30 years, he figures out a way of getting out. And I also love the fact that Laurie Strode, has become, her trauma over it has created this obsession, just like Sarah Connor.
Is Jamie Lee Curtis coming back?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Laurie Strode reminds me of Sarah Connor between Terminators 1 and 2, where in Terminator 1, she's the scared girl that's being protected. In Terminator 2, because of the trauma, because of the trauma, she's become this like obsessed with protecting her child, protecting the future, protecting herself. And Laurie Strode is kind of the same way, where she does not want to be a victim again.
Right.
And she's even wanting Michael Myers to escape so that she can kill him. Like
That's
she
awesome.
wants to kill Michael Myers probably as getting closure for her trauma.
Right.
And so that whole idea I really like. And I want to see it. So
That's
I'm
really
excited for that.
That
What
looks
about
really
you?
exciting. Are they gonna discount Halloween H2O? Where she isn't she back in that one?
All of the other Halloweens. They don't even address Halloween 2, which takes place directly after Halloween 1.
Yeah.
That didn't happen either.
Interesting.
Because in Halloween 2, they created the storyline that he was her brother. And in this movie, the new movie, that was just a rumor. They are not related. He's just a psycho killer and she was the babysitter in his way.
So are they going to retroactively just revamp everything in the movie just by addressing it quickly, or it just literally never happened?
But if you want, we can check out the trailer. But even in the trailer, Laurie Strode's granddaughter is talking to her friends, and her friends are like, I heard that he was her brother. And she's like, nah, it was just a rumor. They even say it in the trailer, and you're like, okay, I see what you're doing. This is going to be awesome.
Halloween 2 is just a rumor.
Halloween 3. Yeah, the hospital didn't happen. Halloween 3 is a good standalone movie. That's weird. It doesn't have Michael Myers.
What's the one where the guy burns his face? He gets blowed up, and then he comes back. Yeah, was that 3? At the end of 2... somebody gets blowed up in the hospital, and then the guy doesn't die. You think he dies at the end of the movie, and then Blowfield comes back somehow.
That's the second movie.
Okay, that is the second movie.
It may be the fourth movie, may talk about it when they brought Michael Myers back. But the third movie is a totally different. Like their idea was it kind of would be an anthology series was the original idea. And so the third Halloween movie deals with the theme of Halloween, but totally different villain. He's trying to kill people through these the masks that he sells these children so that he can hypnotize them to kill their parents and all this other. It's a very weird movie. It kind of goes along the lines of like Soylent Green,
Yeah.
just that people aren't food, but it used that kind of idea, and then the good guys find out the twist at the end. But it
Interesting.
did. So many people were pissed off that it didn't have Michael Myers because they loved him in the first two movies, and that's the only reason they're seeing Halloween 3, which is
Yeah.
you called it Halloween 3. You know,
Just call it
if it
something
was an
else.
anthology, call it something else. And
Yeah.
so then they found a way to bring him back for the fourth one.
Are they still going to use the William Shatner mask?
Yes. But
That's cool.
not the original mask. The original mask got stolen, and
Oh.
they never found it again.
Hmm.
So they have to recreate the masks. But I think with John Carpenter and everybody involved, they're doing the best they can to recreate it as
Yeah.
faithful as possible.
That's cool. I always thought that
But
was an amazing.
they are making it look like it's been around for 30 years.
Okay. That's cool.
He just hasn't been using it for 30 years.
Right. That is such a funny little wrinkle in those Halloween. It's just, oh yeah, by the way, Michael Myers' mask is William Shatner. Captain
Yeah,
Kirk.
I love that. I love the fact that that was true.
I actually got to see William Shatner do a talk after Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, last month. It was really, really good, or a month and a half ago, actually. William Shatner has got so much energy for an 87-year-old dude just running around the stage telling us all of these stories about working on Star Trek and his life and his career and what he's doing now, which is actually really cool. The guy has just never stopped working. He even mentioned TJ Hooker at one point in Rescue 911 and just all of these moments in just think of how much William Shatner alone has done in his career and being Michael Myers. What an achievement. That guy. I don't even
I'm
I
not
don't
a
even,
big fan of him personally, like how he kind of treats fans at
right.
cons. But like I kind of like Tom Cruise. I don't want to know him personally, but I
Yeah.
like him on screen.
Yeah, I think that I was surprised at how good of a storyteller William Shatner was. I didn't um
Mhm.
he seemed to have reverence in his twilight right now that for and he expressed a deep gratitude for the fans and for the episodes because someone asked, of course, what's your favorite episode, and he just said, you know, that's such a brilliant show and he loved it and he loves working on it, and it was cool that he did that talk and he talked about Leonard Nimoy and their friendship, and that was actually really, I thought it was pretty cool. I know that they always did that Saturday Night Live sketch way back in the day where he was just like, you guys are a bunch of losers. Why are you coming to these conventions? I don't care about this crap. and, and that's always my image of how a funny image of him and his relationship with the Star Trek fans. But he did a really
Well,
good.
for a long time he didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of pushed against it. And to a point Mark Hamill did as well. But as
Yeah.
they got older, you know, they're like, that was my heyday. Like that was my moment that I shined. And I think in your older age, you look back on your positives, and that was a
Yeah.
positive. And so they end up embracing it. Like if you watch Mark Hamill now,
I love it.
he is he loves his fans. Like he will go
Yeah.
above and beyond. Um, every time he sees them in person, like whenever he's on a talk show like Jimmy Kimmel, or I love watching his interviews during Star Wars Celebrations convention. You know, he'll always go like, I see you. And then he does a heart, and
Yeah.
he bows all the time and he interacts with fans as long as he can. And like, he loves it.
The
And
only thing I ever the only thing I ever watched from whenever he's at the panels for Star Wars Celebration. It's just any panel with Mark Hamill, because it's just endlessly entertaining. And he goes on for an hour and a half telling stories. He's a raconteur, that guy. And you just sit back and you just enjoy every moment of his enthusiasm and how it's almost as if he's told the stories a million times, but also he's perfected them. So he gets into them and then just starts performing as he's just a great. If Mark Hamill's got a talent, it's just his ability to connect with the crowds and be excited and just say and know the right thing to say. It's just kind of an amazing. That's, I think, Mark Hamill's talent. Maybe a little bit more than his acting ability, but his voice acting is incredible.
Oh, Joker! He's one of the best Jokers. I would put him equal to Heath Ledger, because I love them both and I can't choose between.
Yeah, I love when he reads the Trump tweets as the Joker.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's pretty great.
But
Because it's like, oh, it does sound like a psychopath right now if you say it in that voice.
It works. But I also like about the Star Wars Celebration is the hosts that they've had. So James Arnold Taylor, who does a lot of voices. He's a huge voice actor, voices a lot of stuff from Clone Wars and all this other things. He hosted it for a long time, and he was a great host. I loved him. But the past few years, it's been Warwick Davis.
Right.
I love Warwick Davis. And
he's great too.
He, again, puts 110% into just hosting the panels.
Yeah.
Like, you should watch the panels he did with Ray Park, because they are hilarious.
I should check that out. I actually...
Ray Park has, again, endless energy, and he's doing Darth Maul stuff. They bring up some people on stage to, reenact like a lightsaber fight that he'll choreograph at the moment. And Warwick Davis is just in the middle of it, like doing the best he can, and it's awesome. Like,
I love it.
He even has a small lightsaber, like Yoda's kind of lightsaber, where it's a little smaller than everyone else's.
He's great. I love that he'll be in every Star Wars movie forever, and that's what we love about these. And I think to that end too, I think Billie Jean, what's her name? Billie
Lord
Fisher. Billie Lord. She will be in all the Star Wars movies too. Did I say Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah. I like that she's in all of the Star Wars now, because she's just part of the family at this point, and it's cool that to have those people who are stalwarts in the Star Wars world. And I was actually, when I was watching Solo, and Ray Park shows up, I went and saw it with my friend, and Ray Park shows up as Darth Maul. I leaned over and I was like, "Awesome, Ray Park!" And from the prequels, but I think again a forgivable moment of the prequels, maybe unforgivable that they just killed him off without him even having much of a time to develop a character. But I like
his development in the Clone Wars, because they kept Clone Wars as canon.
Yeah.
And what they did with him in Clone Wars made him so much better than what he... I mean, he was cool in the prequels and Phantom Menace, but what they did with him in the Clone Wars made his character so interesting that I was glad to see him back in Solo.
Yeah.
Even the stuff they did with him in Rebels was really good. That's why I'm excited that they're doing another season of Clone Wars. They're going to finish it up.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what they do with that.
I remember hearing about that. They just announced that last month, I think, at Comic-Con, which is really cool. Is this Will is here? What's up, Will? Is this Will?
So is this Will one of your subscribers?
He is. If
because Amit is one of my subscribers.
Oh, cool. So we've got a couple people in here.
Yeah, we're cross subscribing.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, by the way. Remember to subscribe to Koricon, and Amit, if you don't mind subscribing to Aristotle Full Throttle, that would be very kind of you, and I would appreciate that.
You
And
should, Amit, because he makes good stuff.
and likewise, is this will check out Koricon. You will enjoy his level of nerddom on movie talk.
Well,
And
our nerddom, me and Aristotle's nerddom is on the same level. Like after that, for me, it was when you were giving out those stickers. I think it was your 2000 subscriber.
it might have been the 2,000 subscriber mark. I'm on the way to
Yeah.
3,000 still.
Yeah.
But it was-
I accidentally found you like in the beginning. I don't know
That's
how
right.
I stumbled onto your channel, but I was like in the first 20, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Because I subscribed from the first video and you didn't have anything else yet. It was just that first video.
That's
And
amazing.
then, so when you did, and I think it was because I was looking up everybody that had the Star Wars at the time. I was watching everyone's videos.
Yeah.
But when you were giving away the stickers and you were asking for comments, you're like, make sure you subscribe and put in a comment and we'll get you a sticker. And he said, you can say anything. You can even just say, hey. And so on the other videos, I would actually comment something relevant to the video, but all I typed was, hey.
Yep. And that got you a sticker.
Yeah. But
sure.
I knew we were on the same level because I was worried that you may not kind of get the humor. But in the video, in the video, you were like, showed my comment and you're like, you've had better comments. But this one has a special place in my heart. And I'm like, he totally gets it.
That was pretty legendary. You caught that was definitely a high five moment there, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and Is This Will actually has really good comments too. We like to get into it in the comment section and parse through the meaning of things. And I mean, this movie's not coming out this year. I know Amit asked us what movies we're excited about seeing this year, but I'm really excited to see how they resolve or continue the story of the Avengers in Avengers Infinity War. Also, next year, you've got Episode 9 at the end of the year. And I hear that they're breaking Star Wars Episode 9. There's a rumor out there that they're breaking it into 2 movies, which I think is just milking it. You can't make Episode 9 2 movies. Just make it one.
Well, I can see a reason for it if they do this.
Right.
So if they are trying, like if they understand what people didn't like about
The Last Jedi.
the Last Jedi, and J.J. Abrams tries to find a way to retcon a little bit of that. If he is doing that, that makes the story a lot bigger, because then you now have too much to finalize. And if you try and fit it into a 2 or 2.5 hour movie, you may not be able to do it, and the movie might feel rushed. So
yeah,
if
you got to wrap up 9 movies too, or 8 movies.
Exactly. So if they're doing that to where, just like the original Star Wars, all 3 were in one story. Lucas just chose the first act as one movie just to see if it would do well. Yeah. So if Abrams is having the same problem where there's just too much story to fit, and the movie would end up being 5 or 6 hours, and so he wants to break it up into 2, sure. But if they pull a Harry Potter and they just try and stretch that one story with really long scenes of nothing to get 2 movies, then it's not going to be good. And it will be obvious. I mean, once we see the first movie of the part 1, if they do that, we will know if it was milked or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a Hunger Games. It's also a Twilight. It's also a Hobbit.
Twilight does not exist.
I know.
In my mind, Twilight never happened.
I was just looking at the fake baby from Twilight. I never saw Twilight, but for some reason
I saw the first movie, but it took me like 3 attempts to get through it because I kept turning it off. I was like, this is god awful horrible. But I had friends of mine that kept saying, because I've said this too, you can't hate a movie unless you've seen it,
Yes,
you
that's
know.
true.
And I
So
was
you
like,
went and saw it so you can hate it.
well, I didn't go to the theaters. I watched
Yeah.
it online, and it took me 3 times in 3 months to get
Right.
through it. And
Oh,
then I was like, I saw it, and it's god awful horrible, and I will
and
not
now I can
watch
hate
any.
it.
Now I can hate it.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Is this well brings up Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, two Clint Eastwood movies telling the story from two sides of one event. That's actually a really good example of breaking a movie into two movies. That an interesting example of that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, how many movies was more stuff that went on that same night that they didn't know about from maybe Doug's point of view or something ridiculous, and they could have done a movie that took place at the same time, but I think they just wanted to go for the cheap buck, and they repeated the exact same premise two more times. But I think that The Hangover 2 could have done something interesting like that. I mean, The Godfather 2 does before and after The Godfather, which is an interesting temporal way of telling stories. So, I mean, I saw those two Clint Eastwood movies. I don't quite remember them much, to be honest.
Well, it's been a long time since I saw them. Now, a lot of movies will do that in one movie. You know, like
Yeah.
Snake Eyes did
Right.
that. Um, and
Brian De Palma?
going with the Iwo Jima film, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's
Jackie
a
Brown
classic.
does that.
It's a classic Pearl Harbor movie. But what they did was the Americans filmed the American portion of the film, and Japanese filmmakers filmed the Japanese point of view of the film, and then they edited the two together into one movie. And
Oh,
so you had sympathy for both sides, and
right.
you may not agree with them, but you could understand their reasoning for
Yeah.
both sides of what they did. I can't remember the name of that movie. It's going to drive me crazy. I'll let you know later. But
If someone is watching the replay, they can leave us the comment and let us know, or you can research it. Is this Will says, or the Hangover sequel could have been from Mike Tyson's point of view, or the Tiger's point of view. How about that? Or the baby's point of view. We could have done that.
so that would be what was the baby's movie
Baby's Day Out.
is that the one? It was the John Travolta voicing the baby.
Oh, Look Who's Talking.
Yeah. So Look Who's Talking 3 is Hangover 2.
Literally the same. Or Boss Baby. Could have done that. But I guess we should we'll wrap it up in the next couple minutes. I've got a little meeting later, but Is This Will says Abrams has yet to do a movie not inspired, parroting another one. So since they did all the beats from since they did all the beats from Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah, Bruce Willis was the baby in Look Who's Talking. That's true. But so you think he'll do all the beats from Return of the Jedi for Episode 9? I wonder.
No.
Because I feel like those beats, I'm not quite sure if that's what you're saying, but I feel like a lot of those beats were put in Episode 8 and sort of thrown away in a way. It kind of.
Well, the last Jedi had beats of Return of the Jedi. It also had beats from
Empire.
no, the third prequel movie. Oh my God.
Oh, right.
Revenge of the Sith. So it had beats of those. Yeah, if for the next movie you can't repeat those, and he knows that. At least I hope he knows that.
I'm wondering. I feel like it's just going to be what J.J. Abrams is good at is what is entertaining you and making you feel good for 2 hours. He's just good at that, or as far as substance, because every time I watch Star Trek Into Darkness, during it, I'm thoroughly entertained, and I will watch it from beginning to end. And at the moments where I'm like, yeah, like especially I'll notice cool moments where Spock is getting choked by Khan, and then he reaches up and does a mind meld with Khan, and then Khan stops because he's feeling the choking. Like a moment like that is pretty amazing to bring into. He's really paying respect to the fandom. He's giving fan service. So I think in episode 9, J.J. Abrams is just gonna do that a lot and well at the same time.
Well,
but at the end of Into Darkness, I always feel left with, what was that? I didn't even like that movie. It's like fast food. I enjoy fast food while I'm eating it, but then I kind of, when I'm done, I regret it. So.
Well, I agree with Christian Harloff from Collider, where he said J.J. Abrams is great with setting up a story, but he's not good at finishing the story.
Yeah.
So, like, he has great ideas for creating a mystery, for making it interesting, for getting you into the world, but he's not very good at closing it. So I'm hoping he has other writers that is working with him to make sure that it ends okay.
Yeah. I hope that Kasdan comes out of retirement just to advise. I hope that there's something that really brings it home in a really satisfying way, because The Last Jedi took bold moves in killing off Luke Skywalker, and also we'll have Carrie Fisher back in episode 9. I wonder in what capacity. I wonder if she's just going to be, if it'll be awkward. See, it might feel like crowbarred dialogue, because I can't imagine what they cut out of episode 7. Although there is a shot in the trailer for episode 7 where Maz Kanata is handing Leia the lightsaber, and she's wearing a gown, it looks like. So maybe there's something like that happens, where they use some of that footage in episode 9. But I don't know. J.J. Abrams doesn't really know, or hasn't really shown us a way to wrap up a story, but he can pique our interests by going, what if this happens, and not really resolving that? And what if this happens?
He's really interested in the mystery box. Like, if you watch his TED Talk, he talks about the mystery box. He even has a mystery box that he bought when he was a kid that he's never opened. That's in his office. So he loves the mystery box, but he doesn't want to open it. So that's why he has trouble finishing a story. Is the mystery is what's interesting to him. Solving the mystery, he has no interest in. Yeah. And the last part, the Act 3 for Into Darkness, he had trouble because, 1, he needed to wrap up the story, but 2, he didn't want to open it to a third movie of the search for Kirk, instead of the search for Spock. So you have to kind of fit the search of Spock in the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And that kind of made it jumbled at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough. I mean, in retrospect, after it, it's just like, what? And then watching it, I think it's fine. But Will says, why not consult the Russos? Because they're, I guess, in the Disney family at this point. They're doing the Marvel movies. We'll see, but if it flies in the face of reason that they didn't have a plan for these, it's true, they didn't have a plan for this damn sequel, this damn trilogy. Geez, that just seems unprofessional and counterproductive. Although I will argue that they didn't have a plan necessarily for the original Star Wars trilogy, in the sense that that first movie is very self-encapsulated, but then Empire and Jedi really connect pretty well after the fact. And I mean, Leia kissing Luke, I don't think they knew there is another until Jedi, where they were like, oh, let's make that other Leia at this point.
But he did have the scaffolding of the story.
He did.
Like I said, the first movie is just the first act. And like in original story, in the third act of the story, they actually go to a planet. They go to Kashyyyk and meet all of the Wookiees. But he loved the Wookiees, and so he made the co-pilot Chewbacca just so he could have him in the first movie. And so when they got to the third movie, he said, well, I can't have them go to Kashyyyk now because I had a Wookiee through the whole series. So I cut them in half and called them Ewoks.
Yeah, it's the same vowels but just moved around. Wookiee, Ewok.
Yeah.
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 But it's true. He just wanted to make shorter Wookiees. And you know, I know a lot of people don't like the Ewoks, but I ain't got no quarrel with no Ewok because it's an analogy for the Vietnam War. People will say, I don't like how the Ewoks defeated the Empire. And so, wait a minute, they didn't. It was a coordinated effort. And notice they were losing the battle in Return of the Jedi until Chewbacca showed up in the ATST and started shooting everybody. So he was the cavalry. The Ewoks were done for at that point.
They were basically the fodder that got them They were the distraction.
Exactly.
But without the Ewoks, we would never have Warwick Davis, and he is one of the greatest gems of Star Wars.
Love him.
Like he's the Alfred Hitchcock of Hitchcock movies in that he has to be in it somewhere.
Yeah.
And people look for his cameo, just like they looked for Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah. I like that he was in Solo, and I wondered if he was the same character as he was in Episode 1. When he was a kid-ish or younger. Do you remember?
Well, he was two characters in Phantom Menace. He
was also a little baby Greedo.
Yeah, little baby Greedo, and then the guy in the stands.
Yeah. I always wondered that. But speaking of people coming back, Billy D. Williams is coming back. Finally, they're incorporating Lando in the movies. And I think, he's up there. I think they can pay some reverence to him. And I kind of agree with Christian Harloff on this. Give him a role where he's maybe this. I think personally he should be an admiral at this point. He was the general who led the destruction of the second Death Star. So this guy has some real cred and should be an admiral at this point. Or a retired admiral or something like that. I feel that when they say at the end of The Last Jedi that we have some people on the Outer Rim that are waiting for us, that should be Lando's group that he's been corralled.
But I don't want him to be totally militaristic because half of his charm is that he's a businessman. He's a smooth-talking businessman. So make him a retired admiral that now has a business.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I think. That's kind of, I picture him wearing almost a cape with fur on it and some rings at this point. The one thing I'm concerned about is Billy D. Williams is not doing very well physically. Right.
Like in real life. Like he doesn't move very fast. It takes him a long time to get, when they have panels somewhere, it takes him a while to get to the chair. Yeah. He ends up sitting the whole time and his faculties are not moving as quick. So
yeah,
I'm a little worried of how they're going to utilize him because I don't want them to feel like they're forcing him to do Lando in some energetic way that's going to hurt him physically.
Right.
But if they could incorporate some of that into his character.
Yeah. I mean, I almost picture him sitting on some throne somewhere, just kind of chilling. And then, almost in a Jabba the Hutt fashion, but in a good kind of way, where he's just kind of chilling there, eating, talking, delivering his dialogue in one spot, but he's there and he's cool and he's made it to this where he was always propelling himself to this top of some kind of he made himself the mayor essentially of Cloud City or whatever. And
maybe he should be Conan, like Conan the Barbarian, be the Lamentations of the women.
And hear the lamentations of the women.
Feel the lamentations of the women.
But Wizard's Will says he should be diplomat number 1. I agree with that. Maybe he's on the board. Maybe there's a
an ambassador. Maybe you're making him an ambassador.
Yeah. And we see him, and he's on this council, and they say, "Oh, Admiral Lando, Admiral Calrissian, nice to see you." And he's all like, "What a pleasure to have you guys here among the clouds."
Or maybe he's an ambassador and he's at the planet that he's the ambassador for, and he creates a business to utilize the local Like no matter where he is, he's got some kind of business going on, but not
He's
a scam.
got so many
Not a
rackets
scam,
going on.
just a
Maybe
business.
he's got something to do with the arms trade on the other side of where DJ is on. You know, maybe he's the anti-DJ. DJ, it's hard to be the anti-DJ because he's already the in-between guy. He's the guy that doesn't care as long as you got money. It doesn't matter which side you're on. But maybe he shuts down DJ's game.
Yeah, I don't want him to have really anything to do with the Empire because that, like a lot of people complained about Luke in The Last Jedi because he was, he basically went into hiding. He didn't have
like Yoda
the hope.
and Obi-Wan.
Right. But more of like it was kind of against his character in that he wasn't a character that always provided hope. Like Mark Hamill said, he always thought that he would just continue and try again.
Right. But he did. In the end.
But I don't want Billy
D.
Williams.
His whole purpose for being, I will argue this to the death, in The Last Jedi, his whole purpose for being, and he killed himself, he's selfless, to provide hope for the galaxy. And he fulfilled his destiny, ultimately. And that was, I think, in honor of his character. And a lot of people will argue against that, and that's fine.
No, I agree with you on that. But what I don't want is Billy D. Williams to now be against character in that in Return of the Jedi and in Empire, he redeemed himself, became good. I don't want him to now kind of retcon that and become an arms dealer.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't want to see him do that. I do want to see him in a high level position of where he is now sort of pampered and taken care of because of all of the things he's done for the galaxy. And maybe he comes in as a Jabba the Hutt guy, where they come to him, or M'Baku. Let's say he's an M'Baku type of character, where you go to him and say, "Hey, we need your guys to help us out in this final battle," and he's kind of, I don't know, this whole struggle to fight the Empire seems to be really tough, and we're losing, and I want to preserve myself, and kind of seems self-serving. But then in the end, boom, Lando's troops and his guys come in and save the day, which I feel like he's a Han Solo type of character like that, obviously, because there's similar background. I mean, that's the beautiful moment in Star Wars where Han Solo's like, I'm out. I got paid. I'm out. I'm going to go pay back Jabba. And then he's like, screw it. I'm going to help destroy the Death Star.
Now, amazing. I do want a scene with Lando where he's standing in front of a bunch of mirrors with a tailor, but instead of a suit,
right,
the guy's fitting him for a cape. And then he's like giving the tailor point. You know how they like bring out the suit and it's all pinned, but it's not sewn yet?
Yeah.
I want one of those with a cape, and then he's telling the tailor what he wants adjusted for his cape to make it perfect.
That would be amazing. And there's just maybe a floating droid shooting the pins in around him. That's cool.
Or like not have the furry collar yet, but then him saying, "You're gonna have the furry collar, right?" That's good. And the tailor's like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely." And then they show him, later on in the movie actually putting on the final cape and it looking.
Well, hopefully they're shooting those scenes first because they're already filming episode 9 right now. So maybe they're getting all the Billy D footage because they know that these guys have been around in these movies for 40 years. So they need to make sure that they get them because, life is precious and we lost Carrie before episode 9. And
I also don't want Lando to die.
No, definitely not.
I want him to survive the movie and just end his story. You don't have to kill him off to end his story. Just now he's going to be old as this businessman and he's comfortable in life and we can just be happy with that.
Yeah. And I would have loved to see Wedge Antilles but he's too cool to be in the movies apparently. Ewan McGregor's uncle, by the way.
Yeah, he required too much money for some reason.
That's lame.
I'm like, come on, man. You've
He's
got
the,
cameos in the other movies. You're going to have a cameo in this one. You're not
yeah.
going to make $20 million for a movie. It's like,
I just love how he's the only one of that original fleet, besides Luke Skywalker, who survives the movies. He just
yeah,
shows up. It's, oh, there's Wedge. Oh, Wedge
yeah.
again, standing there at the victory feast on the moon of Endor at the end
Well,
of it.
I think part of the reason why he survived the whole thing was he was actually a major side character in the original cut. They
Right.
have scenes in the beginning of the movie of him going and meeting, Luke actually going to the Kashi station to meet his friends. And one of his friends was Wedge, and that Wedge was going.
Yeah.
And
And they
that's
called him
why,
Wormy, too.
yeah,
Luke's nickname was.
Wormy. And so he was kind of a major side character that they made him survive all the other movies.
I think so, too. And didn't they add the Biggs Darklighter moment in the end right before they added that back in the special edition for Star
Yeah.
Wars? Because he does mention Biggs earlier in the movie when he's with Obi-Wan. He's like, oh, Biggs is gonna blah blah blah, and then and I think that's a fine addition because it ties up that loop. But the whole Jabba the Hutt in Episode 4 is the worst. It's the absolute worst. That scene makes no sense to me. None of the dialogue makes sense. They rewrote that scene essentially for the Han Solo Greedo scene just because it covers the same bases. But then they just have to show us Jabba. And the thing I loved about the original trilogy is that you don't see Jabba until the beginning of Return of the Jedi. So you have no idea that he was going to be this big slug. You just go, okay, Jabba the Hutt. And then in Empire Strikes Back, he's like, I got to go back and pay off Jabba the Hutt. And then in the third one, we see what the hell Jabba the Hutt is and who had no idea what the heck that. It's such a reveal.
What I hated about the re-releases for the original Star Wars is the CGI never looked like it was, placed well.
No.
Everything in the movie
Distracting.
is physical, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have this CGI character that comes out of nowhere. It doesn't fit the world.
Nope.
And then what they did with the Greedo scene, where they wanted to make it look like Greedo shot first, is not only do I disagree with it, Han should protect himself. He knows this guy's going to shoot him. Of course he shoots first. But when they shot it, he does this like weird head move.
Yeah.
And it looks so bad. Like
It's so weird.
looks so bad and weird. Like who in real life goes like this? Not move the head or the neck, like the whole body shifts over for a second. It doesn't make it looks bad.
It's the absolute worst. But on that note, I do have to get running. I got to get on the road. But this has been a great talk, and I could talk about Star Wars with you all day. We should probably make this a habit. So, but thank you, Will, for joining us. Will's prediction. Actually, Will says Wedge is Rey's dad confirmed.
Well,
we'll
if
find out.
you get home tonight and you want to do another live stream, I'm down.
We can do that. I'll let you know. I do have a bit of running around to do today, but thank you guys for joining us right now. Koricon was with me, and Will. Let's see. All those editions have failed age as well. Yeah, I agree with you, Will. All of the Star Wars stuff, and you, Koricon, the CG is distracting to the eye. It actually is way too extra and too much. And I think that they should really... I have seen the despecialized edition. If you guys get the chance, find the despecialized editions of the Star Wars original trilogy. And that's really
not only find the despecializations, but go, because they have multiple versions. They keep making them better and better as they go along.
Right.
Read about what they did for each version, because they'll have a guy that color graded a specific scene a certain way to make it look more like. A lot of the little details that they did with some of these people is amazing.
Yes. And Will says such a thing exists. Yes, it definitely does. I actually
Just
watched
Google despecialization Star Wars, and they have their own website. I think it's called
the
Star Wars
despecialized.
despecialized Star Wars.com or something like that. But you should go and check it out.
Yeah,
They
and
are
it's not
fan-made.
official. It's not official.
No.
It's fan made, but it's all experts in the business and all a lot of amateur artists and stuff took footage, or people who owned original movie theater prints still scanned all of the frames and upscaled them for Blu-ray, which is insane.
Yeah, if you like, some of the stuff for how they removed the CGI characters is really awesome. They have a little documentary on them. I don't know where it is, but it might be on their website. But you can download this despecializations. And what's cool is you can download all the previous versions of it too. Like you can download version 5 and compare it to version 8 and see what they had done. It's really interesting.
It's cool. And the color grading thing too is really interesting because you see what they did for the special editions with the color grading, and it looks weird compared to the original color grading. And so many
I
things.
also found interesting how they took the CGI characters out because they couldn't get access to the original film print, and so they were finding people that had the 35 millimeter print, so that they had a film print, but it's not as good, and so they were digitizing the 35 millimeter print, but then trying to hold the resolution and increase it, but the color grading is off. So they would cut like a certain section of it and place it in the film, and then they would have to smooth it out and color grade it to make it look like they go into so much detail. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And Will, this is no hold up. This is a pleasure of mine. I've been enjoying this. I enjoy this every time we do this, and we're going to do this more often, definitely. But
now
I do have to run.
Check out the trailers for Glass and Halloween.
I will check out those trailers because I'm so behind. I haven't even seen the trailers for Shazam or any of these movies yet. So
you can
I'm going to check those. What's that?
You can skip Shazam.
Okay.
You don't need to see that trailer. There's nothing in it that's amazing. It's just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But if you want to live stream again tonight when you get home, just let me know. I'll be around, and I'm going to be up really late too, so time doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. And I will definitely give you a heads up if I know that. Thank you for doing this on short-ish notice. I know that I think I mentioned it either yesterday or the day before. So, but thank you for that. That's awesome. And I always love doing these. These are so much fun. We could do this for at least 2 hours, which is what we've been doing it for. And thanks, guys, again for joining us. I'm Aristotle. This has been Koricon.
I have 2 channels, by the way.
Definitely subscribe to those channels. Follow him on Twitter. So you've got Koricon Nala and Koricon React. What's up?
Koricon Nerd.
Koricon Nerd. And subscribe to those channels.
Everything is on Koricon.net. If you just want a one-stop shop, go to Koricon.net. It's got everything.
And click on it all. And you can always follow me at Aristotle Full Throttle on Instagram, AristotleFullThrottle.com, and Aristotle Dreyer on Twitter. So thanks, guys. I'm the bro in the know with the fro, and I'll see you later.
I'm the bro with the nice quaff.
He's got the quaff.
The no fro.
Cool.
I know things, though.
I know things.
See you guys.